Hi, I'm Tim, and welcome to Watch You Want. Thanks for logging on. Today, we're looking at another variation on the famous James Bond Seamaster series. This is the Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean 600-meter coaxial Skyfall limited edition. And that's a mouthful, but this is a lot of watch. 42 millimeters in stainless steel. This is the classic 2011 to present Omega Seamaster 600-meter profile, but with elements that pay tribute to the 2012 box office hit Skyfall. Now, Skyfall was probably the most critically acclaimed James Bond in my lifetime, and possibly the most critically acclaimed Bond of all time. Although it didn't get much in the way of Academy Awards, it seemed like the Academy Awards ceremonies themselves that year were nothing but an extended tribute to James Bond, so it made its impact felt. And this 42 millimeter stainless steel Seamaster Planet Ocean 600-meter coaxial makes its presence seen on the wrist. It's got tremendous stance. At 42 millimeters, it's only nominally 0.5 millimeters bigger than the old Pierce Brosnan era Omega Seamaster professional divers, but it plays so much larger while wearing just as comfortably. Now, all of the critical elements of the 600-meter, 42 millimeter Seamaster are here. Now, the Planet Ocean series, launched in 2005, is a bigger, bolder, more contemporary Seamaster line, and I think it's a good match for Daniel Craig's Bond, just in the fact that it's more refined, it's a little bit more butch, it's a little bit more flared, it's got a little bit more swole to it, if you know what I mean, and it definitely gives that impression on the wrist. 42 millimeters can wear big or it can wear small, depending on the profiling of the case, and I'm happy to say that although the watch has a large visual signature, it doesn't feel excessively large, and a big part of that is the fact that the lugs are broad and the case sits upon them, so that it spreads its mass nicely. It's almost a little bit, at least in the part that touches your skin, it's almost a little bit like the old Speedmaster Mark II cushion case from the 70s. It's got that feel to it, and if you squint and you just look at the profile of the case, it's got a little bit of that silhouette to it too, but that's an ergonomic dream come true, and the watch looks phenomenal. Another key to the watch's easy wearing character is a beautifully built, nicely counterweighted bracelet. Now you can see it's a large double trigger release here with one of the best fold-out dive extensions on the market, but I just want to emphasize that because the bracelet and the clasp are so substantial, and you can really see it here, they counterweight each other so that the watch has no tendency to hula hoop or want to capsize on the wrist. Now my wrist is 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters, so the ergonomic equation here is excellent. Even though it's a big watch and I have a smallish wrist, it feels good, I feel it looks good. If sports watches are to your taste, you're really going to like this watch regardless of your wrist size. Now the watch has a lot going on. I'm going to get to the Bond content last because I feel like that's what sets this watch apart, but it's the essential qualities of the Omega Seamaster that make this watch desirable. The Planet Ocean line takes that modern aesthetic and it incorporates a lot of modern technology. This watch uses a full ceramic bezel, so the ceramic insert itself is almost completely scratch resistant. You have the sapphire crystal. Now we're used to modern luxury watches being scratch resistant in as much as the sapphires protect us from the slings and arrows that afflicted old acrylic crystals, the plexiglass of old times. But now bezels, thanks to ceramic technology, it's kiln-fired and it's as hard as high-tech pottery. The bezels have that same scratch resistance built in, and I like that Omega integrates this one with a matte finish, because a lot of ceramic bezels, especially those made by Rolex, are a very high gloss, and I feel that given the number of brushed facets on the case, the matte finish of this bezel is a little bit more consonant with the image Omega's trying to portray, with a full brushed bracelet and brushed case tops. This is a subdued look. I feel, although it's only tangentially related to James Bond, this is something that 007 would wear. It's stylish, it's sober, it's high-tech, it's tough, but it's just a little bit understated, and I think that's a good match for his character. Now inside, you'll find an Omega caliber 8507. Now it features the caliber 8500 in-house movement. Fundamentally speaking, that's what it is, but it features some unique elements, including Skyfall 007 engraved rotor. I'm going to try to get you a little view of that. There you go. Skyfall 007 logo, engraved rotor, hence this one is known as the 8507 caliber. Hot dot dot, get it? I should mention that this watch is a limited edition of 5007 units, but I don't want to dwell too much on the Bond content before we get to the Bond content. I want to talk about the fundamental features. This is the 8500 60-hour power reserve twin mainspring barrel, auto winding. It features a full balance bridge with a free-sprung escapement, very, very tough. The combination of the free-sprung escapement and the full dual-anchored balance bridge, let's see if I can show you both sides of that, anchored on both sides, allows the watch to resolutely resist the kind of shocks that will offset the timing and precision of watches with single-sided cantilever balance cocks and escapements that have a movable index regulator. None of that here. This is a tough one. It also has a silicone hairspring and silicone balance wheel, hence this SI14 logo right here. Now SI14 is Omega speak for silicon, but the bottom line is that gives the watch further resilience against shock, but also temperature variations and magnetism, extreme magnet resistance. This is important because traditionally, not only were mechanical watches extremely vulnerable to magnetic fields, but in the modern era, there are high-powered magnets and high-power electrical lines creating magnetic flux in almost every home and office environment. So to have a display caseback model with no apparent shielding, but also a high degree of magnetic resistance, is an aesthetic and technical coup by Omega. Also, the fact that you have a display back on a watch rated to 600 meters of water resistance is quite extraordinary, and it's a modern phenomenon. Rolex has no equivalent, so props to Omega for that. The bottom line is this is a modern, mature example of the coaxial technology, and watchmakers that I've consulted have raved about the durability, the accuracy, and the engineering quality of the Omega in-house coaxial movements from the 8500 and the 9300 family. You're well set. With an engine like this is a hot rod of a watch. And the bottom line is you do get a lot of additional content, including a helium escape valve. If you want to shop Rolex, for instance, you've got to opt up to one of the Sea Dweller models, either the Sea Dweller 40 or the Deep Sea for the equivalent. The movement does hack, and it does have a quick adjust that lets you jump through time zones independently adjusting the hour hand. It's a fantastic piece. As a watch in its own right, it's got everything to recommend it. And that's before we get to the James Bond content. As I alluded earlier, it is a limited edition of 5007 pieces, released for the 2007 debut of Skyfall. It is a distinctive piece with subtle cues that remind you 007 was here. Now there's a unique grid-style cut that's a sort of a tech motif reminding you of that recurring tech theme, the sort of future versus past tension and contrast between 007 and his adversary in Skyfall. There's also a subtle 007 logo at 7 o'clock, appropriately enough. On the caseback, limited edition, and of course the 007 Skyfall engraved rotor, as well as a corresponding Omega 007 engraved brushed clasp, set this one apart from the standard 42mm Seamaster Planet Oceans. Now naturally, for a limited edition that's a tribute to James Bond, if you're buying a collector's piece, you expect to get a collector's set. And sure enough, on Watch You Want, you can see the entire boxed set for this Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean 600-meter coaxial. All Omega boxes, all technical manuals, and especially the James Bond paraphernalia associated with this limited edition and documents of provenance come with this Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean 600-meter coaxial. Whether you're a 007 fan or not, the bottom line is this Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean 600-meter coaxial, 42mm in stainless steel, offers a whole lot of watch.